In the learning part about data design and architectural concepts, we'll discuss on topic 2, that is data privacy and security, to understand the basic concept when it comes to data privacy and security. Before proceeding, if you are on a learning path about data and haven't yet subscribed for this channel, please do like and subscribe and press bell button for instant notifications. So let's understand what are the different concepts when we talk about data privacy and security. So there are like key different areas or key different concepts that we can consider when we are talking about data privacy and security. So starting with policy creation, implementation and validation. What does it mean? So there are different security policies that you can create. So maybe that is a organization level, or it might be a created by a country, or it might be created for any domain. When I say domain, it may be healthcare industry or finance industry, any specific industry. There are some specific rules or regulatory policies that is created from different uh, governments or countries, and there are different policies that can be created at an organization level. So each organization can define its own security policies and its process, and they can implement those security policies in entire their organization wherever the data is flowing in and out of the organization. And also they need to validate the policies which are being created on a regular basis, and they have to fine tune their policies, and again they have to re-implement that, because security is something is an iterative process, so it will be keep on refining on a day-to-day basis. And also we need to consider user training and awareness, because if there is any organization, so it is very important the people who are working in that organization, especially with the data, should be aware of all the security policies, and we should make sure that each and every employee or whoever involved with the data of this organization should follow these security policies. And also we need to take care of insider threats. There might be like a data leak from the employees itself, from the organization to outside world, so that also need to be taken care by proper user training and having a proper regulatory measures. And obviously we need to take care of physical and technical security. So when we say physical security, it might be like you have a proper fenced area, and which is very restricted to particular employees or particular people only to enter into that physical premises where the data is being stored. And when you talk about technical security, maybe you might implement a firewalls, or you might be implementing different networking layers, which gives multiple layers of security when we talk about networking. And also we can think about cyber security, fraud and DLP. So these can be monitored, so there can be a tool or a security agent to monitor all these suspicious activities, which might be a cyber security. Maybe someone from the outside is hacking the system to gain the access and access to the data, and maybe there are some fraudulent users who are again trying to use the data and misuse the data. And DLP is nothing but there might be few people in the organization or outside the organization are trying to leak the data. That means they are copying the data, or they are moving the data outside the organization, which is not supposed to happen. And this can be achieved by having security tools or security agents monitoring each and every activity of a employee or any person who is inside the organization. And when we talk about data classification, so data has to be well classified. That means we should be clearly defining what is actual important data and non-sensitive data, like sensitive and non-sensitive data, and so that we can easily create a rules on top of a sensitive and non-sensitive data. And for example, if you're talking about PII information, that is a kind of data, what we call it as a personal identification information. So this is very critical and sensitive information, and has to be dealt with the utmost care when it comes to the security and privacy. So what does it mean is, So any data which we can classify as PII, for example, it might be it is related to a person or an organization. So for example, it might be a address of a person, phone number of a person, or a passport number of a person, or it might be a kind of a health information of a person. So these are all comes into a personal identification information, and these has to be dealt with a certain regulatory policies, so that we will see in the next topics. So yeah, as we were discussing about PII, personal identification information, and we also saw the examples. I mean, any data or especially the PII data, so has to abide by certain regulatory policies, and these regulatory policies are framed by different countries or different domains or different organization. Few policies are country specific and few policies are domain specific. So if you are working in a particular, if you are getting a data from a particular country, the data is coming out or coming in from a particular country, so that data has to go undergo or follow the process which are given by the regulatory boards. So let's see what are the different regulatory boards. To start with, there is a GDPR, which we call it as General Data Protection Regulation, which is the regulations by European Union for cyber security. And the next one is HIPAA, which is nothing but Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act for Data. So this is specific to health industry, healthcare industry, and insurance industry, and this is especially for the personal health information that we call it as a PHI. So this we call it as a domain specific, specific to the health and insurance industry. And the next one is Personal Information Protection and Electronic Documents, PIPEDA. So this is again a country specific, which is specific for Canadian federal privacy law, especially for private sector organization. And the next one is Privacy Act of 1988. So this is given by Australian data privacy regulation for private sector. This is again a country specific policy. And the next one is again one of the domain specific policy for finance data. That means especially for credit card and debit card related data. So that we call it as PCI DSS. That means payment card industry and data security standards. So whoever is working on the data which is having a debit or credit card related information, so they have to abide by the rules and regulations which are defined by PCI DSS. So why these regulations are defined, or why these compliance are defined from these regulatory boards is so to maintain a uniformity of policy, uniformity, and to have a proper policy defined for each and every kind of data, so that it helps the every each and every organization to protect their data which is coming in and out. And also there are actions which are being which is being taken, maybe in terms of fine, maybe in terms of cancelling the license, or some other legal actions will be taken if there are if there is a misconduct that's been taken place in following these policies. So that's the reason, like most of the organization which are working in a specific countries or specific domains has to undergo all these security policies. And if there are any projects using such data, maybe domain specific data or country specific data, definitely they have to go through all these regulatory compliance, and they have to follow this process. And this will be measured in the sense, if there is any miss in this implementation of these policies, so they will be caught in audits. Maybe the audits can be happen in a regular basis in each and every organization. So during that audit, so the auditor will see whether the data or the application that is being used in the particular project are following the compliance and regulatory rules that is being defined from different countries or different domains. So next we'll see about the data encryption. So data encryption is nothing but we have a data. So the data can be anything. It might be a text file or an image file, audio, video, anything for that matter. So that data we call it as a plain text. So that plain text data will undergo with the encryption algorithm. So this encryption algorithm will be having its own keys. So with that key, so the data will be encrypted. So after encryption, the encrypted data we will call it as a ciphertext. So that the plain text will be converted into ciphertext. So the whole intention of doing this encryption is, so after encryption, even though if the third party will be able to access this data, so he will not be able to understand so what exactly this data is, because it will be in a ciphertext format and it is a encrypted data. So the third party user will not be able to understand what the data is, and it will not be any use for him. So that's the whole intention of encrypting the data. And after encrypting the data, you can choose to store the data, or you can choose to transfer the data to some other location. So even during the transfer or during the storage, if anybody access the data, so still our data will be safe. So that's the whole intention of encrypting the data. And so after it reaches the genuine genuine user, so it has to be decrypted, otherwise that user will not be able to read the data in the plain text format, right? So for that purpose, so this ciphertext data or encrypted data, we have to again undergo the decryption algorithm. So here there are two things. One possibility is there might be only one key. So if you are using a symmetric algorithm, so in that case you'll be having only one key, and this cannot be distributed. So this will be usually used within the organization, and this cannot be distributed across many audiences. So this is specific for any project or any restricted users. And there is one more place where we talk about asymmetric keys, where it can be a public or private keys. So the private key is used both to decrypt and encrypt the data, and is shared between the sender and receiver of the encrypted data. Say for example, if a sender is sending a mail to a receiver, and to receive a mail sent by sender, so the private key has to be shared across both sender and receiver. So that is the concept of private key. And if you're talking about the public key, it is nothing but it is used to only encrypt the data. But for the decryption, again the private key itself is used, and this private key will be shared across multiple users. That means whoever is having a public key, that means he might be a intended user or not intended user. So if he is having a public key, definitely he can decrypt the data. But in terms of private key, it is not the case. In terms of private key, it is always the person who is intended to read that data or decrypt the data. So only that person will be having a private key, and he will be able to decrypt. So that is a difference between public and private key. And once he has the public and private key, or only one key in terms of symmetric, so the user will be able to decrypt the data from ciphertext to the plain text. So he'll be able to get the data in its original format. So this is the whole process of data encryption required. So for the data in rest or the data in transit in the sense when the data is traveling or being transferred from one system to another system. Hope this video was useful. Thanks for watching.